There are moments in life that defy logic, glances that shadow silence, encounters that bend the trajectory of our fate. You meet someone and feel as if you've known them across lifetimes, as though your very soul recognizes theirs in a way words could never explain. This isn't coincidence. This is resonance. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, when two seemingly unconnected lives collide with such emotional gravity that time slows and all that's left is the undeniable pull. The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't knock before entering. We live in a world of surface-level connections, where likes and swipes attempt to mimic love, where vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, and silence is feared more than noise. But beneath all the masks we wear, our souls are still whispering, still seeking, still waiting to find their mirror in another. And when they do, the energy they create is powerful, wild, transformative, untouchable by the chaos of the world. Jung believed that each of us carries an inner map, a psychic blueprint of what we yearn for, what we need to evolve. And sometimes, another person walks into our life, carrying the missing pieces of that map. They ignite something ancient within us, a flame that neither time, distance, nor fear can extinguish. You don't choose this connection. It chooses you. And when it does, it doesn't care whether the world understands it. But the alignment of souls is not merely romantic. It is spiritual. It's two energies recognizing in each other a shared frequency, a mirror of depth, pain, healing, and purpose. It's when one soul says, "I see you," and the other replies without hesitation, "I've been looking for you." This narration is not just about love. It's about alignment, about the invisible threads that weave our fates together, about how one connection can awaken an entire sleeping part of your soul, and how, when two people truly align, not just in words, not just in passion, but in soul, no force on earth can truly keep them apart. He stood in the corner of a crowded art gallery, surrounded by colors that screamed, but feeling numb inside. And then, she walked in. No dramatic music, no magical spotlight, just her. And yet, in that instant, something ancient within him stirred. She didn't look at him, not yet, but he felt it. That sudden gravitational pull, that whisper inside his chest that said, "Pay attention." Their eyes met minutes later, not by chance, but by a force that seemed to orchestrate their steps. And in that single glance, volumes were spoken without a word, not because they had met before in this life, but because their souls remembered what the mind had forgotten. It was as though the universe pressed pause, just for them. Carl Jung once said that what we call fate is merely the manifestation of the unconscious, seeking wholeness. That moment, it wasn't love at first sight. It was recognition. The kind of recognition that only comes when two fragmented souls recognize in each other their missing piece. They didn't speak for another hour, but every step she took, he felt. Every smile she gave to another, he registered like a note in a familiar song. And when they finally spoke, it wasn't small talk. It was soul talk. The kind of conversation where time dissolves, and you're not just exchanging words, but revealing lifetimes. That night, he didn't go home thinking of her face. He thought of her energy, the way her presence lingered, like incense in his chest. He couldn't explain it, but he knew something had changed. Not outside, but inside. She had awakened a part of him that had been asleep far too long. It wasn't about falling in love. It was about remembering who he was when she looked at him. In her gaze, he saw the version of himself he'd buried, the one who still believed in magic and purpose, in fate. She didn't complete him, but she reminded him that he was never meant to walk this path alone. Some connections are quiet, others are thunder. Theirs was a frequency, two vibrations that, when aligned, created music no one else could hear. It wasn't about chasing or convincing or proving. It simply was. And that was enough. Because when two souls recognize each other across the noise of the world, they don't have to fight for attention. They simply remember. And in that remembering, they return to a truth that never left. It only waited. She lived in New York. He lived in Tokyo. Thousands of miles apart. Different cultures, different time zones, different lives. But every night, like clockwork, they messaged each other as if no ocean existed. Not because they were trying to maintain something, because it was inevitable. Distance didn't weaken their connection. It refined it. It started casually. An online comment, a shared interest, a random conversation. But slowly, their talks deepened. From books and music, to childhood wounds, traumas, and dreams. It wasn't romantic at first. It was spiritual. A safe haven in each other's words. A sanctuary that made the chaos of the world quieter. Jung said that synchronicity is when outer events mirror inner truths. How else could two people, born on opposite ends of the world, find themselves unraveling each other's pain like sacred texts? She knew his silence. He understood her sadness. They were translators of each other's souls. The connection didn't need physical presence to grow. They didn't need to touch to feel one another. There was an intimacy deeper than skin, a communion of energies that transcended space and time. They joked about parallel lives, about what might have been if they'd been born closer. But deep down, they knew it didn't matter. The bond already existed. There were weeks they didn't speak. Life got in the way. Work, family, illness. And yet, every time they returned, it was as if no time had passed. Because real soul connections don't expire. They stretch. They breathe. They wait. Their love wasn't one of possession. It was one of liberation. They didn't need to hold each other to feel held. They didn't need to claim each other to feel claimed. It was a knowing, a resonance, an unshakable presence in the unseen spaces of their lives. Others questioned them. How can you be so close to someone you've never met? But they didn't understand. This wasn't built on physicality. This was alchemy. This was soul chemistry. This was the invisible thread Jung wrote about that connects us beyond logic. Sometimes, the most powerful relationships are not the ones that end in marriage or shared homes. Sometimes, the most sacred are the ones that teach us how to feel again, how to hope again, how to believe that, no matter how far we roam, our soul knows how to find its mirror. They met during the most chaotic year of her life. Her father had passed. She had just left a toxic relationship. Her heart was a battlefield. She wasn't looking for anyone. But life had its own design. And into her storm walked him, not as a savior, but as a mirror. One that didn't flinch at her broken pieces. He didn't offer her solutions. He didn't try to fix her. He simply stayed, present, patient, unafraid of her darkness. That, in itself, was healing, because so many had left when she bled. But he saw poetry in her scars. Jung believed that we attract those who help us become whole. Not perfect, but whole. And he was that catalyst. Their connection wasn't about filling a void. It was about lighting a path. He reminded her of who she was, before the world taught her to dim her light. He didn't need her to be okay. He just needed her to be real. At first, she resisted. She pushed him away, afraid to trust something that felt too good, afraid that love this deep would eventually destroy her. But every time she ran, he remained still, anchored, not chasing, not begging, just there. A lighthouse, not a lifeboat. Over time, she softened. Not because he changed her, but because he gave her space to find herself again. They didn't fall into love. They grew into it, slowly, painfully, beautifully, with honesty, with courage, with silence that said more than any words could. What made them untouchable wasn't their chemistry. It was their emotional fluency. He understood her sadness, because he had danced with his own. She held his rage, because she had wrestled with hers. They didn't avoid each other's shadows. They met there. The world saw them and called them lucky. But it wasn't luck. It was alignment, timing, energy. The collision of two souls who had done the work, who didn't come to each other incomplete, but still healing, still learning, still open. And when they kissed for the first time, it wasn't fireworks. It was grounding. A deep, resonant calm. The kind of kiss that says, "You're safe here. You're home." And for the first time in years, she believed it. Not all aligned souls stay forever. Some come to awaken us, shake us, and then quietly disappear. He was one of those. She met him during a silent retreat in the mountains. He barely spoke, but when he did, it was like thunder in a cathedral. Every word carried weight. Every glance carried truth. They shared one weekend. One long weekend of walks, meditations, conversations under the stars. No labels, no expectations, just raw presence. It felt like lifetimes condensed into days. She felt seen in a way she never had before, not as a woman, not as a role, but as a soul. He spoke to her in riddles. He quoted Jung. He said, "Some connections are not meant to last, but they are meant to change you." She didn't fully understand what he meant until the morning he left. No goodbye, no explanation, just absence. At first, she felt abandoned, betrayed. How could someone touch her soul and then vanish like a dream? But over time, she understood. He was never meant to stay. He was a messenger, a soul guide, a reminder that love doesn't always wear the costume of commitment. Carl Jung believed that people meet as part of a greater individuation process, that some souls are catalysts, sent to wake us up, not walk us home. And in that sense, he had served his purpose. She had cried, she had written, she had remembered who she was because of him. He became the echo in her journal, the face in her dreams. Not a regret, but a sacred memory. Proof that real connections don't need duration to be eternal. Just depth, just truth, just alignment. She never saw him again, but she didn't need to, because something in her had shifted. Her heart had opened, her walls had lowered, and in that opening, she found herself. Sometimes, the most powerful soul bonds are the ones that leave, not to hurt us, but to push us back toward our own path. Not every aligned energy stays, but every one of them leaves us changed. In the end, the energy between two souls is not defined by time, space, or circumstance. It is a force, timeless and undeniable, that surpasses any external definition. As Carl Jung would argue, it is not the meeting of minds that shapes us, but the meeting of spirits, where true recognition takes place. When two souls align, they are not drawn together by convenience or superficial attraction, but by something much deeper, an unconscious pull, the recognition of shared truth, shared longing, and shared transformation. These connections, whether they last a lifetime, a moment, or somewhere in between, are never random. They are the threads woven into the grand tapestry of our individuation. Every person we meet, every soul we encounter, is a reflection of some part of ourselves we have yet to see. It is through these encounters that we are challenged, awakened, and ultimately made whole. The universe does not ask us to chase these alignments. It simply asks us to recognize them when they appear. When we do, we find ourselves not clinging, not grasping, but surrendering to the dance of fate. We become untouchable, not because we are unbreakable, but because we have learned the deep and unshakable truth that the real power lies not in what we possess, but in who we are when we stand fully in our own truth. When the energy of two souls aligns, no force can keep them apart. Not because they will never be tested, but because their connection is beyond the limits of the material world. It is a force that endures beyond physical touch, beyond proximity, beyond time. It is a force that is felt in the deepest chambers of the heart and remembered by the soul. And so, when you feel that pull, when you meet that energy, don't question it. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Allow it to guide you to the places within yourself you've yet to explore. For, in that recognition, lies the key to your own transformation, your own wholeness. Because, as Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And when two souls align, truly align, they both become something they could never have been alone.